Throughout the annals of cinematic history, the silver screen has served as a fertile ground for creative mavericks. Numerous films have pushed boundaries to such an extent that they provoked attempts by authorities to suppress them. These cinematic works dared to challenge societal conventions and resist censorship, leaving audiences astounded and critics embroiled in heated discussions. Initially perceived as perilous and taboo, these films, with their audacious content, have ultimately played a pivotal role in shaping contemporary filmmaking. This narrative delves into 30 films from various epochs, each of which defied norms, sparked controversies, and etched an enduring legacy on the film industry. The Birth of a Nation, 1915. Released in 1915, The Birth of a Nation stands as one of the earliest examples of ambitious storytelling in cinema. It pioneered innovative techniques such as sweeping battle sequences and dramatic close-ups. However, its narrative is tainted by racist depictions and harmful stereotypes. The film romanticized a grim historical period, inciting outrage among many viewers. Protesters condemned its detrimental impact on racial relations. While its technical prowess influenced future filmmakers, its racist undertones left a legacy of pain. The film's contentious nature continues to be debated today. Scholars advocate for its study as a historical artifact, acknowledging both its groundbreaking artistry and its damaging ideology. Despite its pioneering role in film techniques, its hateful content ensures its place as a cautionary tale in cinematic history. Scarface, 1932. Scarface stormed onto the screen in 1932, presenting raw and unflinching depictions of violence and criminality. The film's graphic content shocked contemporary audiences, narrating the story of a merciless gangster whose actions blurred the lines between crime and celebrity. Unaccustomed to such unfiltered brutality, viewers were left reeling, and the film swiftly ignited public outcry. Some critics accused it of corrupting the youth, while others viewed it as a reflection of the era's tumultuous spirit. The ensuing uproar led to stricter regulations in Hollywood. Over time, Scarface has been reassessed as a bold commentary on the rise of organized crime. Its influence is evident in subsequent gangster films that dared to expose society's darker facets. Today, it stands as a testament to the power of art to both unsettle and inspire. Freaks, 1932. In 1932, director Todd Browning unveiled Freaks, a film that defied conventional norms by featuring real carnival performers with physical differences. The movie employed non-traditional actors to weave a haunting tale set against the backdrop of a traveling circus. Its portrayal of the so-called freaks was both empathetic and disconcerting. Many deemed the film exploitative and offensive, with some viewers even claiming it had personal repercussions, including one attendee who reportedly suffered a tragic loss after watching it. Despite the backlash, Freaks gradually garnered a cult following. Critics now regard it as a misunderstood work that challenged societal definitions of normalcy. Its unflinching honesty continues to provoke discussions about exploitation and representation in cinema. The Great Dictator, 1940. Charlie Chaplin's The Great Dictator emerged in 1940, a time when the world was grappling with the rise of totalitarian regimes. Chaplin boldly mocked dictators and fascist ideologies through biting humor. The film masterfully blended satire with poignant messages, as Chaplin played dual roles, a ruthless tyrant and a humble everyman. Its playful yet incisive critique of authoritarianism stunned audiences, many of whom considered it too audacious given the tense political climate. Nevertheless, its fusion of comedy and pathos resonated globally. The Great Dictator paved the way for political satire in film, and its call for humanity and understanding remains relevant today, reminding us of the importance of resisting oppressive power. Citizen Kane, 1941. Citizen Kane made its debut in 1941, daring to critique the influence of the media. The film revolves around a charismatic newspaper magnate whose ascent to power is depicted with biting irony. While its narrative may seem tame by modern standards, it was perceived as a thinly veiled attack on real-life media moguls at the time. A powerful newspaper owner allegedly leveraged his influence to suppress the film, resulting in banned advertisements and reviews in certain regions, as well as pressure on theaters to avoid screening it. Despite these obstacles, Citizen Kane ignited debates about media control and corruption. It remains an early example of how cinema can expose uncomfortable truths about societal power structures. The Outlaw, 1943. In 1943, Howard Hughes set out to challenge Hollywood's rigid standards with The Outlaw. The film catapulted Jane Russell into the spotlight, with Hughes's provocative marketing emphasizing her full figure, which was considered scandalous at the time. Critics were incensed, accusing the film of defying moral expectations. The controversy led to a delayed wide release, but this only heightened public curiosity. When The Outlaw finally premiered, audiences flocked to witness the source of the uproar. Although reviews were mixed, the film's bold marketing and daring content secured its place in cinematic history, marking a significant moment in the fight against excessive censorship. Song of the South, 1946. Disney's Song of the South, released in 1946, remains one of the studio's most contentious works. The film combines live action with animation to present folk tales set during the Reconstruction era. However, its portrayal of the Old South is heavily romanticized, with critics arguing that it glossed over the harsh realities of slavery and racial injustice. The character of Uncle Remus, for instance, was seen by many as a symbol of a painful past. Protests from civil rights groups hindered the film's acceptance, despite its catchy songs and innovative storytelling techniques. Song of the South continues to spark discussions about racism in American media, serving as a reminder that even beloved classics can harbor troubling legacies. The Moon is Blue, 1953. Directed by Otto Preminger. The Moon is Blue arrived in 1953 with a fresh approach to comedy. The film was among the first to openly address topics related to love, sex, and desire, using straightforward language that many found shocking. Terms like virgin and mistress were considered scandalous. The story follows a young bachelor attempting to woo a spirited woman who has her own plans. With its lighthearted tone and playful dialogue, the film pushed boundaries while remaining entertaining. Despite protests from conservative groups, The Moon is Blue captivated audiences, paving the way for future films to explore mature themes with a gentle yet provocative touch. It is remembered as a breakthrough in challenging Hollywood's self-imposed limitations. The Man with the Golden Arm, 1955. In 1955, Otto Preminger broke new ground with The Man with the Golden Arm, the first major Hollywood film to depict the grim reality of heroin addiction. Frank Sinatra starred as a man ensnared by his addiction, and the film's raw portrayal of drug abuse shocked audiences and drew intense scrutiny. Despite attempts by censors to remove references to drugs, Preminger stood his ground. The film's unflinching approach to a difficult subject forced the industry to confront the realities of addiction. Despite resistance, The Man with the Golden Arm achieved critical and commercial success, opening the door for future films to tackle tough stories without being stifled by outdated censorship rules. Bonnie and Clyde, 1967. Bonnie and Clyde exploded onto screens in 1967, revolutionizing American crime films. The movie chronicled the lives of two notorious bank robbers, depicting their violent escapades and passionate love affair with unflinching realism. Its graphic violence and raw energy divided critics, with some praising its boldness and others condemning its brutality. The film's stylistic editing and innovative storytelling made it a hallmark of the new Hollywood era. Bonnie and Clyde paved the way for films that fearlessly explored the darker aspects of human nature, leaving a lasting legacy that continues to influence modern crime dramas. Midnight Cowboy, 1969. Midnight Cowboy premiered in 1969, offering a gritty portrayal of life in New York City. The film follows Joe Buck, a naive Texan, and his unlikely friendship with Ratso Rizzo, a sickly hustler. Its unvarnished depiction of life on the margins broke numerous taboos, including the portrayal of homosexual relationships and urban struggles. Initially rated X, the film's honest exploration of vulnerability and survival resonated with audiences, becoming the first X-rated film to win the Academy Award for Best Picture. Midnight Cowboy opened new avenues for storytelling, capturing the raw energy and pain of a changing America. It remains a seminal work in cinematic history. The Wild Bunch. Directed by Sam Peckinpah in 1969, The Wild Bunch revolutionized the Western genre. This groundbreaking film chronicles the story of a group of aging outlaws who plot one final heist. Departing from the traditional portrayal of heroic cowboys, these characters are deeply flawed and driven by desperation. Peckinpah employed innovative techniques such as slow-motion sequences and rapid cuts to emphasize the brutal and unforgiving nature of their world. The film's depiction of violence was raw and intense, leaving many viewers overwhelmed. Critics and censors alike engaged in heated debates over whether the movie glorified or condemned its subject matter. Despite the controversy, The Wild Bunch set a new standard for realistic portrayals of violence in westerns. Its groundbreaking style continues to inspire filmmakers who aim to explore the harsh realities of survival in a rapidly changing world. Dirty Harry, released in 1971, Dirty Harry quickly became a defining film in the action genre. Clint Eastwood starred as Harry Callahan, a San Francisco detective known for his tough, rule-breaking approach to law enforcement. The film is iconic for its memorable catchphrases and gritty realism. Upon its release, many critics condemned the movie for its violent content and perceived moral ambiguity, with some even labeling it as fascistic and dangerous. However, audiences were captivated by its unconventional hero and unyielding attitude. Over time, Dirty Harry has come to represent a new archetype of law and order cinema, unafraid to confront harsh truths. Its legacy is evident in countless action films that blend justice with brutality, cementing its place as a cultural touchstone. A Clockwork Orange. Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange, released in 1971, immediately polarized audiences. The film follows Alex DeLarge, a young man who revels in violence and chaos. His disturbing actions, including brutal crimes, shock viewers from the outset. When Alex undergoes an experimental treatment designed to suppress his violent tendencies, the film raises profound questions about free will and human nature. Critics were divided, with some praising it as a bold social commentary and others condemning it as immoral. The graphic content and controversial themes led to bans in several countries. Despite, or perhaps because of, the uproar, A Clockwork Orange has achieved cult classic status. Its unsettling yet thought-provoking narrative continues to spark discussions among film enthusiasts and scholars, solidifying its place as a daring exploration of societal and psychological themes. The Devil's Ken Russell's The Devils, released in 1971, is a film that relentlessly pushes boundaries. Based on a fictionalized account of a French priest accused of witchcraft, the movie is filled with shocking imagery, brutal violence, surreal religious scenes, and moments of self-harm. Many found its graphic content too extreme, leading to censorship and bans in various countries. In Finland, the film was prohibited for decades. Despite these challenges, The Devils received critical acclaim for its bold visuals and audacious narrative style. Russell's work forces viewers to confront the darker aspects of religious fanaticism and human cruelty. It remains a striking example of how art can provoke deep reflection and challenge societal norms. Straw Dogs. Directed by Sam Peckinpah in 1971, Straw Dogs tells the unsettling story of a quiet mathematician and his wife who move to a seemingly tranquil English village. Their hopes for a peaceful life are shattered by escalating hostility from the locals. One of the film's most infamous scenes, a prolonged and ambiguous assault, left audiences deeply disturbed. Critics debated whether the film critiqued violence or glorified it. Peckinpah argued that Straw Dogs was intended to explore the limits of human endurance and the eruption of pent-up aggression. Despite, or perhaps because of the controversy, the film became a significant topic of discussion among filmmakers and critics. Its raw portrayal of suppressed rage continues to influence the study of violent cinema. The Last House on the Left. Wes Craven's debut feature, The Last House on the Left, premiered in 1972 and immediately shocked audiences. The film follows a group of teenagers who fall victim to a brutal attack, prompting their families to seek revenge. Its graphic violence and unsettling themes left many viewers disturbed and outraged. The film was banned in several countries and heavily edited in others. Critics were divided, with some viewing it as a condemnation of violence and others as a gratuitous display of brutality. Despite its controversial nature, The Last House on the Left secured a place in horror film history. It remains a reference point for discussions on the limits of on-screen violence and the impact of revenge narratives. Pink Flamingos. John Waters' Pink Flamingos, released in 1972, is a wildly boundary-pushing comedy that revels in shocking its audience. The film is filled with intentionally outrageous scenes, crass humor, and bizarre imagery designed to provoke. Waters assembled a cast of eccentric outcasts who gleefully break every social taboo. The movie challenges viewers to question the boundaries of acceptability in art and humor. While some critics dismissed it as tasteless, many fans celebrated its audacity and quirky charm. Pink Flamingos has since become a cult classic, emblematic of counterculture that defies mainstream conventions. Its legacy endures as a bold example of art that thrives on being unconventional. I Spit on Your Grave. Released in 1978, I Spit on Your Grave is one of the most infamous examples of extreme revenge cinema. The film tells the harrowing story of a young writer who is viciously attacked and left for dead. Refusing to remain a victim, she embarks on a relentless path of vengeance. The movie's graphic depictions of violence and sexual assault were deeply disturbing, leading to bans in many countries and intense debates among critics. Some argued that the film's raw portrayal of retribution was empowering, while others condemned it as exploitative. Despite the criticism, I Spit on Your Grave garnered a cult following and inspired remakes. Its enduring legacy lies in its uncompromising depiction of a survivor's fight against injustice. Life of Brian. Monty Python's Life of Brian, released in 1979, is a satirical take on religious fervor. The film follows the misadventures of Brian, a man born on the same day as Jesus, who is mistakenly hailed as the Messiah. With its irreverent tone, the movie pokes fun at organized religion and fanaticism. Its playful humor sparked outrage among many religious groups, with some labeling it as blasphemous. Protests and bans only added to the film's notoriety. Over time, Life of Brian has been celebrated for its clever satire and insightful social commentary. It serves as a reminder that humor can be a powerful tool for critiquing established norms, cementing its place in cinematic history. Cannibal Holocaust. Released in 1980, Cannibal Holocaust pushed the boundaries of horror and exploitation cinema. Directed by Ruggero Deodato, the film is presented as found footage from a doomed documentary crew in the Amazon rainforest. Its graphic depictions of violence, animal cruelty, and disturbing human behavior shocked even seasoned horror fans. The film's realism was so convincing that Deodato faced legal troubles, accused of creating a snuff film. Although he proved the effects were staged, the controversy persisted. Banned in many countries, Cannibal Holocaust forces audiences to confront the darker aspects of human nature and exploitation. Today, it is both reviled and studied as an extreme example of cinema's ability to challenge viewer sensibilities. Maniac. Released in 1980, Maniac is a slasher film that unflinchingly portrays violence. The story follows a disturbed man on a killing spree in New York City, with graphic scenes of brutality and unsettling imagery. Many censors deemed the film too intense, leading to bans in several countries. In the United Kingdom, the British Board of Film Classification refused to rate it for over 2 decades. Even when eventually released, certain scenes had to be cut. Despite its troubled reception, Maniac has gained cult status among horror fans. Its uncompromising depiction of madness and murder continues to influence the slasher genre, proving that extreme content often leaves a lasting impression. The Evil Dead. Though not as notorious as some other films, The Evil Dead, released in 1981, deserves recognition for its impact on horror. Directed by Sam Raimi, the film follows a group of college friends who accidentally unleash a demonic force in a remote cabin. Its use of practical effects, quick cuts, and relentless terror set a new standard for horror movies. The film's graphic violence and disturbing visuals led to bans in countries like Finland and Ukraine. Despite the controversy, The Evil Dead developed a dedicated fan base and spawned a long-running franchise. It demonstrated that low-budget films could break new ground, leaving a permanent mark on the genre. Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. Released in 1986, Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer offers a stark, documentary-style portrayal of a serial killer's life. The film's unflinching look at brutality and psychological decay made audiences deeply uncomfortable. Many critics and censors felt it crossed the line in its depiction of violence. Despite the backlash, Henry became a cult classic for its raw and unembellished narrative. It challenges viewers to confront the nature of evil without sensationalism, influencing later works that delve into the minds of criminals. The film remains a provocative exploration of humanity's darkest corners. The Last Temptation of Christ. Martin Scorsese's The Last Temptation of Christ, released in 1988, sparked immediate controversy. Based on Nikos Kazantzakis' novel, the film portrays a humanized Jesus Christ, grappling with doubts, temptations, and his divine mission. Many religious groups found the portrayal offensive, leading to protests and bans in countries like Singapore and the Philippines. Despite the outcry, Scorsese stood by his vision, and critics praised the film's complex narrative and powerful performances. Over time, it has been recognized as a daring work that challenges conventional religious narratives, solidifying its place as a thought-provoking piece of cinema. Natural Born Killers, Oliver Stone's Natural Born Killers, released in 1994, is a frenetic exploration of violence and media glorification. The film follows a pair of lovers on a violent rampage, portrayed with chaotic visuals and rapid editing. Its critique of mass media's role in sensationalizing violence sparked heated debates. While some saw it as a dangerous influence, others defended it as a biting social commentary. The film's bold style and disturbing imagery made it impossible to ignore. Today, it is regarded as a provocative work that exposes the darker side of human nature and modern culture. Kids released in 1995, Kids offered a raw and unfiltered look at urban youth culture. The film portrays teenagers engaging in reckless behavior, drug use, and casual sexuality, sparking immediate outrage. Critics were divided, with some accusing it of glamorizing risky lifestyles and others praising its honesty. The film's handheld camera work and documentary-style narrative made it feel immediate and real. Despite controversy and bans, Kids resonated with audiences for its unvarnished truth. It remains a stark reminder of cinema's power to reflect and challenge social issues. Salo, or the 120 Days of Sodom. Pier Paolo Pasolini's Salo, or the 120 Days of Sodom, released in 1975, is a film that tests the limits of on-screen brutality. Set during a dark historical period, the movie graphically depicts human cruelty, degradation, and sexual abuse. Its extreme content led to bans in many countries. Salo forces viewers to confront the depths of human depravity while serving as a commentary on authoritarianism and abuse of power. It remains one of cinema's most polarizing works, simultaneously condemned and revered for its unflinching honesty. These films represent a spectrum of cinematic rebellion, challenging norms and pushing boundaries. From the early days of silent epics to modern shockers, each movie on this list has sparked controversy and left a lasting impact. They remind us that art is not confined by conventional rules, and that pushing boundaries is often necessary for creative evolution. Whether hailed as masterpieces or reviled as moral catastrophes, these films have shaped the landscape of cinema, inspiring future generations of filmmakers to test limits and provoke thought. Their legacy is one of courage, controversy, and the enduring struggle for artistic freedom.